Okay Adam, so here's your little lesson on how to drive the M2 Competition. So it is an automatic but also a semi-automatic, but you need to be aware of a few features that this vehicle has before you can drive it safely. First of all, like most vehicles, it's a key fob. It doesn't need a key, but to start it you need to put your foot on the brake and touch the red start button. The vehicle will fire up. The sign on the dash after a bit that says full power will be available shortly. It also manifests itself on the control panel with a little exclamation mark. If you want to see that ease, go to the notifications and it says, oh, that says fuel reserve. I need to put some fuel in. But there it'll tell you full power will be available shortly. That's if the engine's cold. It won't let you go into full power. Unlike most BMWs, it doesn't have a button that toggles between Sport, Comfort, Comfort Plus, Eco, etc. It's all configured by these buttons down here. First of all, the gear knob, as you will see, has a red glowing LED in the middle that indicates that the vehicle is currently in neutral. To put it into drive, you need to put your foot in the brake and tap it to the right. That then puts it into drive. Again, unlike most automatics, it won't creep forward. It's a manual handbrake, by the way, not an electronic one. So you need to give it a little power, and again, unlike most normal automatics, it won't sort of move until you give it a wee bit more accelerator than you would normally think. So what you're used to might be slightly different. Now, sometimes people make the mistake of putting it to the right twice. You will see the plus and the minus now light up. That actually means you've put it into semi-automatic mode and it won't change gear itself. You can change gear by pushing it, pulling it towards you to go up a gear and pushing it away to go away, or to change down, or use the gear levers on the back here. Put it back into full automatic mode, just tap it again to the right and you'll see the plus and the minus vanish. These buttons you may not be familiar with. This one toggles your aggressiveness of throttle control, throttle response. So as you change this, you'll see next to the D1, if you can see it, just at the bottom of the rev counter, as I press it, it goes up to 2 and to 3. 3 is the most aggressive, where it'll stay in high revs for much longer for maximum power. 1 is the least aggressive, which is the most comfortable to drive around in. It defaults to 1 whenever you turn the engine on and is not in sport mode. This button is for the weight of the steering. Again, you can have light, medium or heavy steering. Heavier steering is for more aggressive sport driving. Then this button is again all to do with the throttle mapping. 3 stages: aggressive, less aggressive and more comfort. And this button, 2 stages for traction control. Press it once to turn off stability and hold it in further to turn off traction and stability. I have never driven it in that mode and wouldn't do so unless it was on a track. I advise you not to do it either. Here you will see M1 and M2. These are pre-configured buttons where I have set different controls for different sport modes. Basically adjusting all 3 of these buttons I've run through with one flick of a switch. So if I press M1, you will see next to where we were looking at the D1 earlier, at the bottom of the throttle, at the bottom of the rev counter, it now says M1. If you press it again, it vanishes. So that goes back into comfort mode, which is your default mode. M2 is even more aggressive sport mode, and it'll actually ask you to confirm if you want to do this by holding in the M2 button. I'll do that again. If you hold it in to confirm, there we go. You'll see it's turned the stability control off. That's back on again in M1 mode. So I would recommend just a normal day just driving around in the mode that it starts off in, and then if you feel a bit more sporty, press M1. As soon as you start using the paddle shifts, it'll go into semi-automatic. If you want to go back into automatic mode, either just press the M1 button, put the gear lever to the right, and that's your 2 ways of putting it back in. You have obviously got the auto cruise, but it's not dynamic, so you have to still brake yourself if you're coming up onto another vehicle. You probably won't use that much. Again, when you turn off the vehicle, make sure you've got it in drive and handbrake on, and then press stop. Okay, we trust that is helpful.